Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
Hello and welcome to the Persistence Payoff Show. We're here on USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Kimberly Schaefer, and I'm your host for today. I'm on my own journey with persistence. I am a first-time inventor and entrepreneur. I'm the inventor of the Ring Thing, which is a waterproof patented ring holder, and I pursue persistence every single day. This is my next chapter, and I am loving it. One of the things that I've been learning through this show and just through my own journey is that we can experience persistence in a couple of different ways. One way is our own persistence in pursuit of our own goals and dreams. We can also be around and observe other people who are in pursuit of their dreams. And I think that our guest today personifies both of these things and has experience from both angles. I'm really excited and honored to have today as our guest, Bill Brown. He's had a storied career as a sportscaster, a career of more than 50 years. He was a television play-by-play voice for the Houston Astros for 30 years and was inducted into the Houston Astros Hall of Fame. He also did play-by-play for the Cincinnati Reds for 7 years. He was voted Texas Sportscaster of the Year by his peers in 2013 and has received many, many awards and honors. In addition to his broadcasting career, he's also an author. He's written 13 books, and his latest book is called Wartime Athletes, and it includes more than 80 profiles of professional athletes who have served in the military during wartime. Bill himself is a Vietnam veteran who served in the U.S. Army. So I think we have a lot to cover and a lot of angles of persistence, and I'm very thrilled to welcome to the show Bill Brown.
Kimberly, my pleasure, my honor. And do you mind if I show you something?
I would love that. Please do.
Well, I was listening to your ring thing, and I think I need one.
I'm happy to send you one. I'll consider it done.
So can we do a little show and tell?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, as you know, sportscasters have absolutely nothing to do with the accomplishments of the team. And yet sometimes they get to enjoy the benefits of what the team has reaped on the field. And that is the case when a sportscaster happens to be working for a championship team. So here are some rings that I want to show you today. And I don't really wear these rings. They're too valuable to wear, but here they are. Let's go back to 1976 when the Cincinnati Reds won the World Series. This was the ring the players got.
Smokes. Wow.
Yeah. Is that a monstrous diamond or not?
It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
And then, Kimberly, all the detail work on the sides is absolutely incredible. The stadium, the score of the games, all that sort of thing goes into these. There's a big red machine on here, which is what they call the Cincinnati Reds. Everybody's name is on there. And in that amount of space, there was a coach named Ted Kluszewski whose name got into that amount of space.
Wow.
So that was that. That was 1976. Now let's jump ahead to the Houston Astros, 2005. and they were the runner-ups in the World Series, and that was their ring. And
Wow.
you see how much bigger. Let me see if I can show you by comparison how much bigger the rings have gotten over the years.
Yes. Oh my
And
goodness.
so, again, the detail, there's even writing on the inside of the rings. That's incredible. Now let's jump ahead to 2017 when the Houston Astros won their first World Series. And this is a monster.
Wow. Oh
With
my gosh.
all the stones in there and everything, and just so much symbolism. It would be impossible to go into all the symbolism that is on this ring. And so, we know that these are gaudy. We know that they're too heavy to wear. They're just really heavy, dynamic rings with the design on them. And yet it's a symbol. It's a symbol of hard work, achievement at the highest level, performance under pressure. And for some players, they never get a ring. People can play for 20 years and just not be fortunate enough, even though they're excellent players, to be on a team that wins a ring. So it's a symbol of all of those achievements. It's something to treasure, and it's a piece of jewelry. And yet it's mostly, for me, just a symbol of so many things that went into that achievement, even though the sportscaster himself had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Well, first of all, thank you for showing me. Those are spectacular, each of them. And the artwork, I mean, they really are pieces of art.
They are.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll send you a ring thing for each of them.
I love your invention. I had not seen that before. That's fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That is literally my dream come true. Like, to see it come from my head into my hand has been a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm learning a lot. I'm 65 and a first-time entrepreneur, so it's a whole new world.
That's great. That's great.
Yes, but thank you for showing me those. Those are spectacular.
Sure. I feel like it's show and tell back in the third grade,
Yes. Well, with really good stuff to show.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it's interesting because I would imagine that as the voice of the team and doing the play-by-play, yes, it's true you weren't down on the field, but you contributed to that the whole atmosphere, for both of those teams, for the Astros and for the Reds. And you were no small part of that.
Well, it's just great to be in an organization where, the purpose is winning. And a lot of us in the organization have nothing to do with winning, but there are so many people in advertising, in sales, sponsorships, tickets. There are so many different employees, the people who take care of the stadium. And I will tell you that our owner, Jim Crane, made sure that all of those people got rings.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That is leadership. That is a good leader to do that.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Well, I'm so interested in knowing how you first started your career in broadcasting. So when I go back and look, and so you served in the Vietnam War.
Yes.
And thank you for that.
Yeah.
Were you involved with broadcasting at that point, or did that come later?
Interesting story. I always wanted to be a baseball broadcaster since I was 14 years old. I would listen to St. Louis Cardinal games growing up in Missouri on the radio every night. That's when we only had one game a week on television, and that was Saturdays. But so from that, for some reason, was able to be blessed by God and be able to actually do that job. But it didn't happen immediately. So I had done broadcasting when I was in college at the University of Missouri. I was broadcasting high school games and doing football and basketball every weekend when I was a junior and senior in college. And that's what I wanted to do. My first job after college was not as a sportscaster, but as a news reporter in San Antonio, Texas. I did not like covering shootings and stabbings, and even City Hall for that matter, because I wanted to do sports, but I didn't get that opportunity because my boss, the news director, said I looked too young to have credibility on the air. So I get drafted into the Army. I wind up on the air in Saigon doing football scoreboard shows on Sunday and regular sportscasts, and being on the radio as well, doing sportscasts. And people say, well, what play-by-play did you do in Vietnam? It wasn't play-by-play. No, believe me, we were not doing soccer games in Vietnam. We were in the studio reporting what happened in the United States to the troops stationed around the different bases in Vietnam. And they had transistor radios, and they had TV sets, and they could watch and listen depending on, if they're in the jungle fighting, then they can't. But a lot of the people who were support troops could. And so there I got the opportunity through the U.S. Army to do something that I had not been able to do prior to the Army. So I owe a lot to the Army.
Yes. Well, and and also what I'm sure that you contributed to morale, with people in tough times in the middle of a war, being able to hear your voice and hear scores and have that little bit of normality in their lives probably had a significant impact.
Well, I would hope so. And, it was just such a joy. And, believe me, I did not want to be in combat in the jungle. I was not a very heroic guy. I was not a very patriotic guy. So God just protected me and kept me in the studio, and we were out of harm's way. So we were blessed every day to come into that studio and to be able to report things that we knew there were Georgia fans. We knew there were Alabama fans, and they wanted to listen to those games. We taped those games on the radio and played them back, and we tried to give them all the details we could about their hometown teams. And yes, hopefully it did take them away a little bit from the combat or whatever their duties were. Previously, before going to that station, I was a reporter who would go out to different areas. I could go anywhere in Vietnam. I had blanket travel orders and interview soldiers, do a little 3-4 minute interview on an audio cassette, and then get back in the studio and package that and send out that to their hometown radio station so we could let the folks back in their hometowns know exactly what they were doing at that time. And that also was a blessing to be able to serve in that way.
Yes. Wow. Well, thank you for that. I'm sure that there are people who still remember your voice from that time. And so that's very powerful. And then when you came back from the war, did you immediately go into broadcasting, or how did you go from serving in Vietnam to the Cincinnati Reds?
Great question. I was looking around for jobs, and the law was that if you had been drafted into the military and you had been working at that time, then your organization had to offer you your job back. So I was offered my job back in San Antonio as a news reporter. And I was afraid that I couldn't find anything else, but I did ask because this station was owned by Avco Broadcasting. And Avco owned several stations in the Midwest. They owned one in Cincinnati, one in Indianapolis, one in Dayton, and one in Columbus, Ohio. So I asked, could I do sports at one of those stations, because there was no sports opening in San Antonio at that time. And that's how I wound up in Cincinnati. There was an opening there. I auditioned for it. They hired me. I was weekend sportscaster there. And then it took me 4 years to be able to be offered the Cincinnati Reds job. I was a sportscaster, but wasn't doing play-by-play at that time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then from there, did you go directly to the Houston Astros from the Cincinnati Reds?
No, I got fired by the Cincinnati Reds. It was actually not by the Reds, but by the TV station I worked for. We being the Reds had lost 101 games, and the team wasn't good and the broadcasters weren't good. So I got fired, and then for the next 5 years, just bounced from one job to another. Kimberly, sportscasting jobs in general, mostly studio, some play-by-play, but we had to move 4 times in 5 years, moved to Pittsburgh, back to Cincinnati, to LA, and then to Houston. So it was a roundabout. I really didn't think I would ever be able to get back into baseball again. I had hoped that I would be a sportscaster. And then, when my third organization looked like it was going to fail, the job in Houston came along. But I had been interviewing with a company called Paychecks to get out of broadcasting and go into a job which would have involved something that I was not competent to do, and that was do the payrolls for small firms. And believe me, I'm very happy that did not work out.
Well, yes. And I'm sure that there are many people who are happy that that didn't work out for you all either. So.
Including the people to paychecks, I think, too.
Yeah. But, I'm really interested in that process because this show is focused on persistence. And so you were very persistent in pursuing your dream, even though you may have had to come up with a potential plan B, in case you needed it. You were really pursuing your dream and your goal. And I wonder if you can just talk a little bit about where do you think that came from and what did you learn about yourself on that journey?
Really good questions. I think it came from just an overwhelming passion to do this job. And, I was told when I was first starting, hey, the odds are not good that you're going to be able to be a play-by-play baseball broadcaster. But sales is a good part of the industry, and that's a stable job. And you would do well to think about that. And it was good advice because thinking about it, Kimberly, what are the odds of a young guy who's, got a good start in broadcasting, but really hasn't excelled, hasn't had time to prove anything? There are a lot of guys out there doing what I was doing. And then to think about being one of 30 TV play-by-play guys in the world doing Major League Baseball, the odds are rather overwhelming. Fortunately, that wasn't in my head at that time. I really didn't care. I didn't care what anybody told me. And so part of it is dumb luck, I would suppose you could say. But I don't know. It was just the passion was just always there to do that above and beyond anything else. And there was a plan B, but I think that's really what won the day. And I would tell you, I'm working with, I got a text from a young guy who's in college who wants to be a play-by-play guy. And he wanted to know, how do I go about it? And I said, well, just turn down the sound on your TV and pick a baseball game and announce the game. And then listen to it and send it to me and critique yourself. And then I will critique you. And then the next step is do it again. And then the next step is do it again. And then the next step is do it again, because it's going to take a lot of repetitions for you to get where you need to be hired at any level, frankly.
Yeah. What great advice. And what a lucky young man to have you mentoring him. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm really curious to know, like, when you were broadcasting a game, did your mind ever wander? Did you ever miss a play because you were just thinking about the birds or something at that moment?
Yes. And that's not a good, not a good trait to have. A concentration with play-by-play, and assume you're on the air for 3 hours a night doing a baseball game. You try to structure your entire day so that your best 3 hours is the 3 hours that you're on the air. And that's when you need complete focus, complete attention, so that does not happen. When it does start to happen, you have to find a trigger to get you back into the ball game, because if you're not in it, then there are fans who are in it more than you are. So you really need to understand that you're serving the people. We are so blessed to be able to be invited into people's homes when they're watching these games on television, and they deserve the highest level of concentration. And so, that if your mind does start to slip, then you're in trouble. You really are.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I can, I could just imagine. I'm projecting because I know myself. Like, there's over a 3-hour period, I'm likely to just have a moment, and that might be the home run moment.
Yes, it might be. So the good thing is you have a partner on the air with you, and maybe your partner is getting you back together again mentally while he's talking or she's talking, and so that can be very helpful too.
Yes. Well, and now that you've retired, do you still follow baseball as closely?
I follow it, not as closely, because there are other things in life. And after all those years in baseball, The time is growing short for doing these other things in life. And I think there's community service, there is church, there is, this and that, and family, grandkids. So hopefully there's a better balance than there was in baseball, because during that baseball season, there is not a whole lot of balance.
I can imagine. I could only imagine. Yes. I mean, and what it would be, I'm just imagining the highs and the lows. So, winning those championships and getting those rings, as being part of the team and the whole milieu of it. That's incredible. But there were probably also some real low lows when, like you said, the Cincinnati Reds lost more than 100 games. And so did you have a technique to kind of keep yourself in a steady during those moments?
Excellent question. We had 3 years in a row in Houston of more than 100 losses. When we were a rebuilding team, we were a young team, didn't have many high payroll players, and we didn't have a whole lot of viewers on TV. And we were just grinding, trying to find a way to keep them interested in our broadcast. And we were not successful every night. But what we started to do, I think after a while, we focused on the minor league players, and we have, 6 minor league teams. So we were really of the philosophy that we were building through the minor leagues for the future. And fortunately, it worked by 2017, winning the World Series. It doesn't always work in the major leagues, but fortunately it did with us at that time. And so what we would do is get some highlights of different minor league teams of ours. And hey, Jose Altuve's at AA, he's at Corpus Christi, and he had 4 hits last night. We'd show some highlights of him. Even though that was not our game, that was the future of the Astros. And the fans seemed to like it. By the time the young players got to the major leagues, they knew enough about who they were to be able to celebrate them and enjoy watching them grow day by day as major league players. And then some of them, like Jose Altuve, became all-stars and superstars and MVPs. And so that I think was the way to go, because in our situation, each day's result was not as important as what was coming in the future.
That's a really powerful bite that you just said, and I think that that's true in so many things. That might not be what happens on a daily basis, but it's the long term, and that that resonates. I appreciate that. Now you're the author of 13 books, and so I'm curious to know, were you writing the whole time while you were broadcasting, or is that something that you've done more since you retired?
It's almost, I would say maybe 10 of them have been in retirement. There were a few that I started when I was at the tail end of my broadcasting career, but it's as you know, it's just a great pursuit if you have the time to do it, and there's more time required than what I would have in an off season doing baseball. But I really got into it pretty heavily right after retiring, and that was just a wonderful substitute for the broadcasting, and still, is a good way to keep the mind sharp, and good excuse to interview people and things of that nature. So it does keep somebody involved. This is wartime athletes we're seeing now. Yes. And I started this, Kimberly, about just about a year ago, Veterans Day of last year, 2024. And so I spoke to a couple groups at Veterans Day, and for those speeches, I had to do some research and wanted to tell some stories. And of course, being a sports guy, I gravitated toward athletes who had served in the military. And so that's how that evolved. And then I just kept running across more and more fascinating stories, and wondered, well, maybe this could be a book someday, and asked a few friends of mine, and they thought it could be. And then I did some research on how many books of that sort had been written, and there really hadn't been very many at all. So at that point, it was gung-ho, let's do this. And it's been just a great opportunity to tell these stories of these heroic people who have served our country so well.
Yeah, that's what a really great topic. That's very, I think it's wonderful. And I'm curious to know, does that cover athletes, professional athletes across all sports, or is it more focused in one sport than the other?
It does. I wanted to expand it beyond baseball. And so pro football, basketball, hockey, tennis, boxing. There's a bowler in there. I
Wow.
wanted to draw as many different sports into it as possible. And of course, it really isn't possible to include Olympians and amateur athletes. That would be a 1,000-page book. And maybe somebody will do that someday, but it won't be me.
Yes. Well, and how did you connect with the athletes? How did you find them?
Most of it was just reading, and there's been a lot written. I did interview a few people, but unlike the other books that I wrote, there wasn't much in terms of interviewing. Unfortunately, the World War II guys are mostly gone by now. I did read quite a bit about the Vietnam guys, and stories like Rocky Blyer, who was a great running back with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and enjoyed telling that story. I did not attempt to interview him, but there had been so much written about him that there was plenty of material, because I didn't need to go that deep with 80 athletes. I was trying to keep each athlete's story fairly succinct, down to just a few pages. So it would have been a waste of Rocky Blyer's time had I talked to him, because I wouldn't have had the space to go with an extensive interview with him.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm curious, was there a pattern, like, for example, for the professional athletes, was it more likely to be an interruption in their professional career and they came back to be pro athletes, or for more people, was at the end of their professional athletic career?
Great question. Again, it was all of the above. There were some who were just in the minor leagues. For instance, Yogi Berra had not played in the major leagues yet, and he was involved in Normandy, the landing on D-Day. There were several like him who were in the minor leagues and then came back and had full major league careers afterwards. There were some who never made it because they didn't come back for World War II. There were some who had largely completed their careers and wanted to serve their country and enlisted for that reason. There were some who were right smack in the middle of their careers. So it was a variety of things. And with Rocky Blyer in Vietnam, he had been drafted low by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a star at Notre Dame. They won a national championship there, and he was a running back. But he was a 16th round draft choice, and wasn't expected to be a star player with the Steelers at that time. And it was happening here in Houston. Players like Larry Durker with the Astros wanted to serve their country, but they wanted to keep playing ball. And there was a way to do that. Their teams could protect them from the draft by getting them into a reserve unit. And so in the reserves, their commitment would go from 2 years to 6 years, but they would only have 2 weeks of summer camp and then weekend duties once a month. And so they could take some time off from their baseball team and still play a full season while serving their country. But there was a limit to how many of those players could be protected by each team. So Rocky Blyer was not protected by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was drafted. He went to Vietnam. He was wounded. He had shrapnel in his leg. He had surgery. And one doctor said, "You'll never play again." But the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers sent him a postcard saying, "Rock, we really need you right now. The team's not doing very well." That was encouraging to him. He came back, and he had lost weight in Vietnam. He was down to about 180 pounds. He needed to be at 210 to be an effective NFL player. So he hit the weight room. He gained weight, but he still had shrapnel in his foot and ankle, and he could not run the way he needed to run. So he had more surgery, regained some mobility, came back, and after being cut twice, and giving up and starting a sales career, but being talked into returning by a teammate who said, "No, you need to make them cut you. Don't make the decision for them." he worked as hard as he could, and he went to 4 winning Super Bowls for the Steelers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's persistence, Kimberly.
Yes, I would say so. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm also curious to know how you knew when it was time to wrap up the book. So you have 80 profiles. Were you tempted to go for 100, or how did you decide, okay, this is my critical mass to stop with?
I don't know that I was totally sure. There were some people I researched and left out of the book. I didn't think their stories were as compelling, as interesting as the other 80 stories. I wasn't really keeping count that much. I had a rough idea, but whether it's 80 or 85 didn't really matter to me at that point. It was more about the page count. It was around 300 pages. I try to write short books because I think the attention span of a lot of readers is not that great anymore, and tried to keep the flow of it moving along pretty quickly. Tried to take it through the various different wars and cover something of each war, and then the different sports were involved with different athletes. So I just felt that was, a good time to end it.
Yeah. Yeah. What a fascinating book. I'm going to read that. That sounds fascinating.
Good.
Are you going to do the audiobook version of it?
I have already done that, and it's on Audible.
Oh, wonderful. All right.
Yes.
I'm going to be listening to that.
Great.
Great. Well, so we have just a few minutes left, and I really am struck by your experience with persistence. So certainly in the military, there was extreme bravery, courage, and,
yes.
As we read, sometimes bravery isn't the absence of fear, but it's that willingness to push through it. So you saw a lot of that in the military. Certainly in your 50-year career as a broadcaster, you've seen that in athletes, and you talked about some of the farm guys just working their way up until they were able to come into the big leagues, and other stories, I'm sure. And then as an author, your own journey, and as well as your pursuit of your broadcasting career. And so I'm just curious to know, when you look at that as a whole, are there any sort of kernels about persistence that you have learned or that you would give to other people as advice?
Well, if we make each day a challenge, and each, especially as you grow older, each day is a blessing. So what can I do today? What challenge is there out there today? And can we take a small step toward a goal? Are we working on a charity event? Do we need to contact people about sponsorships? No matter what it might be, what can we do today? At the end of today, can we say we accomplished something? And that won't always be true. You need a vacation every now and then. You need rest every now and then. All these things are necessary and vital, but yet, it's part of an overall life. And what do you want to be your life? Is there something that you haven't done yet, whether it's write a children's book or some way that you feel you can make a contribution, whether other people agree with that or not? I think it's necessary to have a goal, to work toward that goal, and to try to say that you made some progress toward that goal recently.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. And I'm curious to know, for you, what's next? What are your upcoming goals?
I'm working on a pickleball tournament, Kimberly, for an organization called Camp Hope, which is the PTSD Foundation headquarters of the United States. And we're going to raise some money for soldiers who have come back from combat with PTSD. They live in this facility for up to 9 months. They have apartments. They are provided with food. And then they have some training sessions. They learn a skill sometimes. They may go back to school. They will be treated for the different issues that go along with PTSD by professionals who are veterans. So that's the next goal, is to raise some money for that charity.
Oh my gosh. What a great goal. That is great. And again, it's involving veterans and also sports.
I can't get off that. I can't get off that theme.
No, I like that. Well, this has just been such a joy to talk with you, and the time has flown by. I still have 12 other questions I would love to ask you. But before we wrap up, I wonder if you could share with us how people can connect with you if they'd like to get your books or learn more about your work.
Well, if they want to send me an email, that's easy at bbastro@aol.com. We can talk that way. The books are all on Amazon, with the exception of the children's book. And so those are the best ways, I think.
All right, great. Thank you. And I didn't ask you about the children's book. Could you give us just a 30-second intro to that?
I wanted the children to draw all the drawings in the book, and they did that on watercolor. And just a little story about the Mystery of Town Lake where we live. And I wanted to be able to donate that to some of the elementary schools because, as you know, we need to keep our kids reading, and any way we can do it is helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just so impressed with your, not only your own persistence, but you're giving back. You know, you're doing so much to give back to the community in different ways. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your invention. I am looking forward to seeing that.
I'm going to be following up with you, and I'll send you 3 in the color of your choice. I can't wait to think about the championship rings in them. So thank you for that.
I will happily be a purchaser of those 3. Thank you very much.
Right.
I'll look forward to that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful conversation. I am inspired. At the end of every show, I read a quote about persistence that I select prior to the show. And I never know exactly what we're going to be talking about, but it always seems to fit so well. And so today the quote is from James Michener, who said, "Character consists of what you do on the 3rd and 4th tries." And that resonates with me and makes me think about the young man that Bill is mentoring and telling him to just keep doing the broadcasting, do it again and do it again and do it again. And it's what does he do on the 3rd and 4th try? That will be very telling. So I'm so grateful for this discussion today. We are here on the USA Global TV and Radio Network every other Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. We air live, and you can watch anytime and follow up on YouTube. If you would like to reach me directly, please don't hesitate to do so. My website is ringthing.com, and my own email is kimberly@ringthing.com. And I would love to hear any suggestions that you have about guests or comments or thoughts that you would like to share, or any questions whatsoever. Please feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. And thank you to Dr. Jacqueline Kerbick and to USA Global TV and Radio for this platform.
USA Global TV and Radio, home of the YouTube Silver Creator Award, proudly presents Just the Thing for Your Ring, introducing the patented Ring Thing. Your premium personal ring holder to keep your ring safe, nearby, and avoid loss.
The Ring Thing just got smarter. Add your logo and an NFC tag that opens to your website with one tap. Waterproof, inner padding, and now a forever business card.
Just the thing for your ring. Scan the QR code seen here to learn more about Ring Thing or place your order. Follow Ring Thing on Instagram at ring_thing_ or go to our website, ringthing.com.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the elevated listeners' courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.